Welcome to Film Reveal Decoder, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you might have missed. The movie begins by showcasing the universe billions of years ago, where immortal beings harnessed the greatest force of willpower in existence. To prevent any one entity from controlling this immense power, they divided it among 3,600 planets. Each planet received this power in the form of a ring, which could only be wielded by those who were truly fearless. These protectors became known as the Green Lanterns. Over time, the most formidable threat they ever encountered was Parallax, a monstrous entity born from fear itself. A powerful Green Lantern named Abin Sur managed to imprison Parallax on an unknown planet, where it remained trapped for ages. The scene then shifts to a group of Green Lanterns exploring an uncharted planet. Their spaceship crashes, and as they move away from it, they unknowingly step into a deep crater. This turns out to be the very place where Abin Sur had imprisoned Parallax. Using its overwhelming power, Parallax absorbs the life force of the three Green Lanterns, growing even stronger. Now freed from captivity, it sets out in search of Abin Sur, determined to destroy him and take control of all the Green Lanterns. The timeline then moves to 1993, where we meet a young boy named Hal Jordan. His father is a highly skilled pilot, scheduled to test a newly developed aircraft the next day. Hal arrives at the airbase to watch his father take off. Before leaving, his father hands him his flight jacket as a token of encouragement. The test flight starts smoothly, and Hal, along with the other onlookers, watches with excitement. However, disaster strikes when his father's jet experiences a catastrophic failure, leading to a massive explosion. Though Hal's father initially manages to stabilize the jet, it ultimately crashes. Hal is relieved to see his father survive the impact, but just as he emerges from the wreckage, the aircraft explodes again, killing him instantly. This tragic event leaves a deep scar on Hal, who is devastated by the loss. The story then shifts to Sector 284 Torn, where Abin Sur resides. He receives a holographic message from a fellow Green Lantern, Sinestro, who warns him that Parallax has escaped. Almost immediately, Abin Sur's ring alerts him to an imminent threat, and within moments, Parallax arrives. Now significantly stronger after consuming countless souls across the universe, Parallax launches a ferocious attack on Abin Sur. Abin Sur fights back, but his attacks prove futile against Parallax. In retaliation, Parallax severely injures him, forcing Abin Sur to flee in a spaceship. Before leaving, he sends a message to the other Green Lanterns, informing them that he will seek out a worthy successor to inherit his ring on the nearest habitable planet. The scene then shifts back to Hal, now an adult and an exceptional pilot like his father. The American authorities have developed two fully automated fighter jets, designed to operate without human intervention. However, Hal strongly opposes the idea, believing that a jet is incomplete without a pilot. To demonstrate their capabilities, the authorities organize a test battle between the AI-controlled jets and human-piloted ones. Most people expect the automated jets to win effortlessly. As the battle begins, Hal and his partner, Carol, engage in an intense aerial duel against the AI jets. Initially, the automated jets appear to have the upper hand, but Hal, to be continued. Hal was never one to back down easily. Using his quick thinking, he maneuvered the two automated jets high into the sky, where their engines stalled due to a lack of oxygen. Seizing the moment, Hal swiftly took them down. However, as he began plummeting, he was suddenly overwhelmed by visions of his father. Distracted and unable to regain control of his jet, he was forced to eject just in time. Upon his return, the authorities were furious with Hal for recklessly destroying an expensive aircraft. Hal defended his actions, arguing that he had merely exposed the weaknesses of their automated jets, giving them a chance to improve their design. However, the officials dismissed his reasoning and temporarily suspended him. Meanwhile, Abin Sur's spaceship crash-landed on Earth. Mortally wounded, he released the power of his ring to seek out a worthy successor. Back home, Hal was confronted by his brother, who was angry at him for acting recklessly, just like their father. That day also happened to be his nephew's birthday. As Hal sat with his nephew, an unseen force suddenly entered his body, sending a jolt through him. The Green Lantern ring had chosen him. The ring then pulled Hal toward the crash site of Abinsur's spaceship. Upon arriving at the wreckage, Hal assumed someone was trapped inside and rushed to help. To his astonishment, he found a red-skinned alien wearing green attire. He pulled the severely injured Abinsur out of the water. With his final breath, Abinsur informed Hal that the ring had chosen him. He then presented a glowing red lantern and instructed Hal to recite an oath before it, swearing to become a noble and courageous Green Lantern. Doing so would unlock the ring's full power. Moments later, Abinsur succumbed to his wounds. Shaken yet intrigued, Hal called his friend to the site, and before authorities could arrive, they quickly left. Back home, Hal placed the red lantern before him and attempted to recite the oath, but nothing happened. Frustrated, he repeated it several times until, in a moment of impatience, he touched the lantern. Instantly, it began glowing, and Hal, almost as if in a trance, unknowingly recited the oath. Suddenly, he was imbued with the full power of the Green Lantern, though he had no understanding of what it truly meant. Meanwhile, a brilliant scientist named Hector was summoned by American authorities to examine Abinsur's recovered body. Hector had always longed to encounter an alien, and now his wish had come true. As he conducted his examination, he unknowingly came into contact with traces of Parallax's energy still present in Abinsur's wounds. These dark remnants transferred into Hector's body, initiating an unsettling transformation within him. After completing his examination, Hector shared his findings with another scientist, unaware of the growing changes inside him. Elsewhere, Hal found himself attacked by a group of men. Instinctively, he swung his hand in self-defense, and to his shock, a massive green energy hand materialized, knocking all three attackers to the ground. Before he could comprehend what had happened, a sudden green glow surrounded him. In the blink of an eye, he was transported to another world. Hal soon realized that he had been summoned by the Guardians of Sector 2814, the overseers of the Green Lantern Corps. Upon arrival, his body was scanned, and he was officially granted the Green Lantern suit. Seeing himself in the uniform, Hal felt a mix of excitement and disbelief. Just then, another Green Lantern from Sector 2813 approached him, explaining that he was the first human ever chosen by the ring. He then led Hal to a grand assembly, where all the Green Lanterns had gathered. To be continued. All the Green Lanterns had gathered, and soon after, Sinestro arrived. He assembled an army of lanterns to take on Parallax, believing their combined strength could defeat him. However, during training, Hal struggled to keep up and appeared much weaker than the others. Disappointed, Sinestro decided to personally train him, but Hal found it even more difficult. Despite his efforts, Sinestro ultimately became frustrated and believed the ring had chosen the wrong person. Meanwhile, on Earth, Hector, a college professor, was teaching a class when he overheard a student insulting him from the back. Surprisingly, he could hear the student's whispers clearly. Overcome with rage, Hector used his newfound powers to attack the student, shocking himself. Later, when he examined his DNA, he was horrified to see it mutating. In space, Sinestro led a group of lanterns to confront Parallax, who had grown even larger and more powerful. The lanterns launched a combined attack, but it had no effect on Parallax. Instead, he absorbed their very souls, growing stronger. Realizing the situation was dire, Sinestro sought guidance from the ancient Guardians, the beings who first harnessed the power of will. One of the elders revealed that Parallax had once been one of them. However, he had sought to control not just willpower, but also fear. In his attempt to harness fear, he became consumed by it, ultimately transforming into the monstrous entity now known as Parallax. Upon hearing this, Sinestro declared that Parallax was approaching and insisted they forge a yellow ring of fear to counter him. The Guardians, understanding the urgency, agreed to create the ring. Meanwhile, Hal attended a party where Hector was also present. Hector's father, a U.S. senator, approached him, acting kindly in public but secretly looking down on him. However, Hector's powers allowed him to hear his father's true thoughts, which filled him with rage. Later that night, as the senator boarded his helicopter to leave, Hector used his abilities to cause an explosion in the rear blades. Just as the helicopter was about to crash, Hal intervened, using his Green Lantern powers to create a racetrack that safely guided it to the ground. This act revealed to everyone that a superhero was among them. Later that night, Hector's physical transformation became even more apparent. His head had grown significantly larger. Conducting another blood test, he discovered that his DNA had been completely altered. Shortly after, a scientist took him to a lab where his father was also present. Overwhelmed by anger, Hector attacked his father, but before he could do further damage, another scientist injected him with a sedative, knocking him unconscious. When Hector woke up, his father assured him they would fix him. However, Hector had no desire to return to his old self. He embraced his new form. In a fit of rage, he unleashed his powers, attacking everyone in the room. He then trapped his father in a containment chamber and burned him alive. Moments later, Hal arrived, leading to a fierce battle between the two. Hector had the upper hand, using his telekinetic abilities to manipulate machines. As the fight escalated, Hal managed to touch Hector's head, gaining access to his memories. Through this, he learned about Parallax and realized the entity was soon coming to Earth. That night, Hector had a vision where Parallax commanded him to kill Hal. Meanwhile, in Sector 2814, the Guardians completed the Yellow Ring of Fear and handed it to Sinestro. At that moment, Hal arrived, pleading with them to help save Earth. However, Sinestro dismissed his request, claiming that Earth was beyond saving, but Hal refused to give up. His determination remained unshaken. Hal declared with unwavering determination that he would save Earth no matter what. With that resolve, he returned to Earth and went straight to meet Carol. However, upon reaching her, he found her suspended in the air, held captive by Hector, who had just arrived. Hector had always been obsessed with Carol and wanted her to be his. In his desperation, he attempted to inject her with his mutated blood to transform her like himself. But before he could do so, Hal intervened. In exchange for Carol's freedom, Hal offered Hector his Green Lantern ring. As soon as Hector took the ring, he smirked and said, "Did you really think I would let you go?" Without hesitation, he tried to use the ring against Hal, launching a powerful attack. However, to his shock, the attack rebounded and struck him instead. The ring did not obey Hector because it only followed the one it had chosen, Hal. At that moment, Parallax arrived. Enraged at Hector's failure, the entity mercilessly killed him. Seizing the opportunity, Hal quickly retrieved his ring and escaped with Carol before Parallax could turn its wrath upon them. Now, the entire planet was in grave danger as Parallax spread across America like a dark storm, consuming the souls of people one by one. Determined to stop the entity, Hal returned and launched an attack, using his willpower to create powerful constructs with his ring. However, Parallax fought back by instilling fear in Hal, trying to weaken him. But Hal refused to succumb. He pushed forward, fueling his strength with sheer willpower. Realizing that defeating Parallax head-on was impossible, Hal devised a new plan. He would lure it toward the sun. Without wasting any time, he took off, leading the monstrous entity away from Earth. As they raced through space, Hal skillfully maneuvered through an asteroid field, while Parallax, consumed by its hunger for Hal, blindly followed without realizing the danger ahead. Hal flew as close to the sun as possible, knowing it was the only way to eliminate Parallax for good. Just as the entity was about to capture him, Hal used his imagination to create 2 fighter jets and swiftly dodged out of the way. The strategy worked. Parallax got caught in the sun's gravitational pull. The creature desperately tried to escape, but before it could, Hal delivered one final, powerful punch, sending it crashing straight into the sun, where it was completely destroyed. However, Hal was also being pulled toward the sun, and it seemed like there was no escape. Just when all hope seemed lost, Sinestro and the other Green Lanterns arrived in time to rescue him. They brought him back to the Green Lantern Corps, where everyone celebrated their victory over Parallax. Sinestro looked at Hal and remarked, "Abin Sur truly chose someone as stubborn as himself." Hal then returned to Earth, reuniting with Carol. Overjoyed to see him alive, she embraced him, and the two grew even closer. With his mission on Earth complete, Hal once again set off to protect the universe. Meanwhile, Sinestro took the Yellow Ring of Fear and placed it on his finger. Instantly, his Green Lantern uniform transformed into Yellow Lantern suit, marking his descent into darkness. And with that, the movie comes to an end. Thanks for watching.